Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Been very hectic. I'm doing like a major farm project, and then all this stuff that's going on in the political world. And did I say greetings, brothers and sisters? Anyways, I've been proven right. One of my longtime viewers pointed something out I'd forgotten about, and I'll show you that. That's how they introduced Trump, WWE style, in the Republican National Convention, and that wasn't even the one I was talking about because he's going to give a speech tomorrow. Today's Wednesday, July 17th. So this video will come out tomorrow, and there'll be a speech given, and it'll be all the things I said that would happen would happen. And there's something else that I'm going to get to first. The RFK Jr. Audio taped his phone call with Trump and then leaked it, videotaped it, and leaked it like a true POS. But that's very telling, right? And, all these things that I said would happen are happening because, one, I'm good at pattern recognition, but more importantly, I don't care, right? I'm not emotionally invested in the outcome. And I've been covering this stuff forever, and it just becomes, it's just a show. And there's things I like about it, things I don't like about it. There's twists and turns, whatever, plot storylines and things like this. But at the end of the day, I believe the system's collapsing, and take all this stuff very lightly. Whereas you Trumpers, you opium smoking Trumpers, have an emotional investment in this guy. And and there's nothing that he can do. And he just did something huge that was huge. He just did something huge that goes back to something else that he did that was huge to do with Operation Warp Speed. He just completely played himself and played you, but you guys will never admit it. I got a few more comments yesterday. One of them was saying how jaded and cynical I was, and it's not that at all. Like you think it's being jaded and cynical to see like a guy who's a Trump, who's a horrible person. I mean, he cares about himself alone. I mean, he is what he is, but like he's not a hero. He's not in it for you. He's self-serving, and he doesn't believe in anything. He believes in himself. And him and his family have made a boatload of money from his presidency. He monetized his presidency. I'll get into all that later, right? But the first thing I want to say before we get going, I always have to say this. My channel is not as shadow banned as it used to be. Somebody wrote this comment yesterday, and it says this, or maybe it's 2 days ago. I've been a longtime follower of Pockets of the Future. I've been wondering what happened to you because until recently I haven't seen your channel in my feed for a very long time. I'm glad to see you have returned to my feed, to hear that you've been there a long time but not visible is shameful on YouTube's part. They have been shadow banning you in spite of them denying it. Glad to see you back, brother. Yeah, so I talked to some YouTube bots. I had some chats with some YouTube bots, and they said they had no such thing as shadow banning, and it was my fault that my channel was dying. And all of a sudden, they started recommending my channel again. It was a miracle. They're less shadow banning me than they were before. And, because I complained to these bots, and it's happening at a good time. My videos are now getting twice as many views, so, that's a start. But it should be even more, right? It could be even more. But all these people are finding my channel, and what you have to do is bookmark it. Any channel like this, but any YouTube channel in general, if you want to see content, you have to go search for it because their notification system is completely whack. And you have to subscribe. Please subscribe, resubscribe, hit the notification button, like videos, leave comments. Let YouTube know, and their algorithms and their bots know that you're interested in my channel because it's necessary. So I have to say this every time now before a video, but it's, paying dividends. It was the first month in years that I've gained more subscribers than lost. I gained like 100 or so subscribers. And so this is because YouTube's always unsubscribing people, and then, they're not putting me in front of new people, so you can't gain subscribers. So anyway, that's happening. Okay, so let's get into these two things that I said. Again, it's not like me saying, hey, I was right, because I don't care. Like, I've been right a lot, and it doesn't make me any, whatever. It's just predicting things or whatever. I don't, I was like, yeah, okay, that's good, whatever. I mean, it's good to be right when you're talking about things like this. And I have a predisposition towards this kind of thing, pattern recognition, being dyslexic and things like this, right? But in terms of other people, it'd be nice if you guys acknowledged that my percentage of saying things are going to happen a certain way and then it happening that way must mean something, right? Especially for you Trumpers who constantly are being disappointed by this guy and then changing the goalposts like QBs always do, right? But let's get into the video clip here. Okay, so they screwed RFK Jr. with the picture. They're being more kind to Trump. And RFK Jr. called Trump and videoed his call and then leaked it, which is completely effed up. But here's the...
It's interesting. It was very nice, actually. He called me.
He's talking about Biden.
And he said, how did you choose to move to the right?
So Biden said to Trump, how did you choose to move to the right? Like Trump had some sort of psychic abilities, or, that's a profound statement because Trump used to be a liberal. So it has a double meaning. Trump moved to the right to avoid the bullet, allegedly, and then he also moved to the right to become a Republican because he was kind of in the middle or sort of leaning Democrat before he was a presidential candidate.
So I guess that's, people said, if I was looking straight up, right? He said, I said, I was just showing a chart. I didn't have to tell him the chart was on all the people pouring into our country, right? But
and look at him go here, like this is...
I just turned my head to show the chart, and something wrapped me.
It wrapped him, right?
It felt like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito.
Okay, what did I say, you guys? You guys remember what I said? I said it looked like he was swatting a freaking bug.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
See, like, you know how you get a bug in your ear? It happens to me all the time, especially recently in the summer, where it just keeps on buzzing around your ear, mosquito or something. That's what it looked like, right? Like it looked like, I mean, his reaction looks very fake if you look at it here.
Take a look at what happened.
This guy's got a Trump shirt, right? So he compared it to the world's largest mosquito. And I said it looked like he was swatting a bug that was flying around his ear.
And it was a bullet going around. What do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
Those are pretty tough guns, right? Like his gun was somehow tougher than other guns because his bullet was big gun, but I have a big bullet. And then he gets into the bloop.
I said I want to do small doses. Small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that has like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this. And do you ever see the size of it, right? It's this massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do something. And I think it would be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy.
He just showed what a POS he is. And you Trumpers, again, like how, he is saying, and he said this before, and RFK Jr., worked for him for a while. And so Trump believed the theory that these kids who were babies are getting all these, multi-doses of vaccines is causing harmful effects to them. And he had mothers come to him just like RFK Jr. did. And Trump believed this. He said this publicly. He said to RFK Jr., he's saying it again here, that these things have side effects and the kids are radically changed, right? He's saying these kids are affected by it. And then he did Operation Warp Speed, which he said he was father of the vaccine, right? All the stuff that Jojo Magoo later made mandatory. And Trump was very proud of it. And so how do you reconcile this, right? You Trumpers, you can't. Like he's just, he's a guy who he believes whatever is convenient for him at the time. He doesn't have beliefs because he believes this stuff is harmful in large doses. All these various things you're getting as a kid, at least. And he said he wanted to give small doses, right? But he, at one point he's bragging about Operation Warp Speed because he's being pressured to cure COVID or whatever, by the powers that be. He got worked on COVID, and yet he believes this stuff's harmful for you. And so you can't have it both ways. And this guy always wants it both ways. He wants whatever he needs at the time to be what, he doesn't stick by his beliefs. He's not a person of faith. He's a person of whatever is good for Trump at the moment. And that guy's not a hero. That kind of person, he's incapable of being the kind of person that you Trumpers look at him as, right? He's a person who tells you what you want to hear when you want to hear it. He's telling RFK Jr. what he wants to hear. They have a relationship, right? And Trump is very talkative and whatever it is, right? He's thinking maybe RFK Jr. is going to help him in the election. He's basically saying maybe you can come work for me afterwards. Like he's saying that right now. And he's, saying bad stuff about the vaccination. And yet at the same time, let me run the compilation here.
Very long. We've instituted it before. 2 additional companies, AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson. As you know, the Johnson & Johnson's a one-dose, one-shot vaccine, so we're going to see how that works. That would be very helpful if that all came out, and I think it probably will. Also, they're showing tremendous promise, all of them, tremendous problem. We're very hopeful that the FDA will authorize the Pfizer vaccine within days. We've got to get it moving. And Moderna vaccine almost immediately thereafter. Large numbers of tests and samples have been done, so hopefully that'll go very quickly. If authorized, tens of millions of vaccine doses will be available this month, and we'll get it distributed very quickly. We'll have that all set, and hundreds of millions more will quickly follow. Every American who wants the vaccine will be able to get the vaccine, and we think by spring we're going to be in a position that nobody would have believed possible just a few months ago. Amazing, really amazing. They say it's somewhat of a miracle, and I think that's true. The plan we put forward prioritizes the elderly and patients with underlying conditions, as well as healthcare workers and first responders. Greatest achievements was getting the vaccine done in 9 months instead of 5.5 to 12 years. But the problem is, we saved tens of millions of lives all over the world, but I can't talk about it because our beautiful base, of which some of you are there, you get angry when we mention the word vaccine. Don't get angry.
You did everything you could to get this vaccine out. I know where you
stand on the vaccine. It was one of the greatest achievements. We did it in less than 9 months.
To be able to do that.
Yeah,
but now it's taken a twist, right?
And then people don't want it, and it probably even affects the others because, there's a big situation with a lot of people don't want to take the vaccine. Well, this played right into their hands. And they want me to do public service messages and everything about everybody taking the vaccine. And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. To get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle. Fauci said it would take 3 to 5 years. He thought it was something that just wouldn't be that effective because it would take so long to get. I pushed the FDA like they have never been pushed before. I wouldn't exactly say they're in love with me. They have never. This is a very bureaucratic organization. I pushed them like they've never been pushed before, and that's why we have it.
The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. We would have had in 1917, remember the Spanish flu, killed perhaps 100 million people.
Can you imagine if you had to go through what all of the countries of the world who are now getting the vaccine or soon will be getting it from various companies, but can you imagine if all of those countries had to go through what they've been going through over the last year? You'd lose hundreds of millions of people.
Let the teachers get the vaccine. They should get the vaccine. I hope they do. Again, it's something I'm very proud of. I think if we didn't come up during the Trump administration with a vaccine, you could have 100.
The best one, I'll play it again. I got a better version. I found it on Fox, where Trump said he was the father of the vaccine, and it was a miracle. He is claiming divinity. The vaccine was divine, and his, whatever. This should put a stake in the coffin of this MNFer's candidacy. I mean, this is, even for the most hardcore Trumpers, you got to see this guy got played. He played himself. He played you. I mean, just a, absolute POS. Let's play that clip again.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. To get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle.
See, there are people who are, they have convictions, they have beliefs, they have, some sort of, they're missionaries, right? They have a mission. They're compelled by something, right? And Trump's, whatever his mission was, it was to be rich and powerful. Whatever Trump's compulsions are, his goals, it's about success. You can see it. It's about success in every level. And, his name, like putting his name on giant buildings, a university, water, how many Trump products, Trump steaks, right? Trump is everywhere. Trump has tried to put his name on everything, built monuments to himself, right? That's what Trump's all about, making money and crushing the deal. If you know anything about Trump, it's like he has to win. Winning's a big thing for Trump. And these are all personal things. They have nothing to do with America. They have nothing to do with the agenda he's pushing. He doesn't care about the border. He's used undocumented workers, right? He's used them. So how can he care about something like that? Like Trump just likes to win. And he The Art of the Deal was the name of the book, his big book. And then The Apprentice, if you saw him on The Apprentice and you saw what kind of person he was, it was all about winning, petty arguments, and then in business particularly. And so he, of course, monetized his presidency. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his daughter negotiated a $2.3 billion deal with the Saudi Arabians, which far exceeded the kind of money that Hunter Biden made. Right? Hunter Biden's a pure amateur, crackhead compared to the way Trump monetized his presidency. Trump had that guy Blagojevich, who I really liked. Blagojevich was a corrupt governor or mayor of Chicago or Illinois or whatever it was. If you saw that guy. So I guess you pronounce it Blagojevich. But he had these wonderful tapes where he's trying to sell Barack Obama's Senate seat. He was the governor of Illinois. And so Obama became president, so he had to vacate his senator seat, and the governor got to appoint a senator. And so he wanted to sell that seat, amongst other corruption things, right?
I've got this thing, and it's golden. And I'm just not giving it up for nothing.
He was great, really funny. And Trump loved the guy, right? He was on The Celebrity Apprentice.
In infighting as much as I am in trying to finish up tasks and trying to accomplish results. And again, all of us are here because we all believe in the charities that we've chosen. And all of us have been given a unique opportunity by Donald Trump to be able to go out and compete and try to be able to win support for our charities.
Donald Trump loved the guy. If you saw The Celebrity Apprentice, he said you didn't believe the guy did anything wrong. And, this is after he was in jail, his prison, right? So, of course, Trump was going to monetize his presidency, the same way Blagojevich monetized his governorship. Trump sees nothing wrong with that. He has no moral dilemma about breaking off something for himself, right? And his family broke themselves off a couple $1 billion. Ivanka and Jared Kushner aren't even available now. They're they've cut themselves off from Trump, but they've made all this money. Jared Kushner's a real piece of boop as well, right? And so, the whole thing is Jared Kushner bought 666 Park Avenue, remember? And so, it's just a messed up thing the way that he is. He's not a person of conviction or character in terms of issues. He doesn't care about the border. He doesn't care about making America great again, only in the sense that he glorifies himself. Making America great again would make him be a popular president and seen as a great man and have some sort of legacy, sure. But he doesn't believe in the institution of America the way that he says he does, right? He's a liberal. He hobnobbed with the Clintons. He gave the Clintons money, right? I mean, the Democrats he gave money to as well. He's kind of he's in the middle on abortion. He says he's a conservative, and he tells you what you want to hear when you're with him, good politicians, but even more so because he's a flim-flam man or a salesman. But you don't know what the guy believes because he doesn't really believe anything other than him winning and his success, right? him getting revenge, all these things that are up for, on the table now. And so this idea that he, all these Trumpers, that he believes what you believe, he's fighting for you. They don't want to get him. They're going after you. He's just standing in their way. Like, that's a joke. That's not who he is, right? He doesn't sacrifice himself for other people. Trump is about Trump, and he showed you over and over again. How many times has he reversed himself, whether it be when you're saying lock her up before the election, and then after the election you said, that played well during the election, but not, now not so much. I've showed you these clips over and over again. And then after he gets convicted, he goes back into lock her up again. It's whatever he's convenient for him and whatever suits him at the time, right? He is a dictator, like someone with an attitude that he's royal and he's better and he deserves these privileges and that he's entitled and things like this. And so all these people that think he's the second coming of Christ, and he could do no wrong, he's an actor. Now he's a crisis actor. Like, it's the whole thing's a joke. He's always been that. Like, he's a proven liar. He clearly banged a porn star because he had her signed an NDA and paid her $160,000 or whatever it was through his fixer, a lawyer, who he later turned on, right? Because that's Trump. Like, Trump is full of drama, full of selfishness. He likes to win. He likes to glorify himself. He doesn't give a shit about you. And so let's go to the convention. I said this was going to happen WWE style. Okay, so there's the Trump daughter that Trump doesn't like because she's not pretty enough for him. The Marla Maples girl. And, apparently I predicted this. I kind of remember it. I talked about WWE style entrance. And I was talking about his speech, but they already rolled him out here.
Hello, RNC. Is there any doubt who's going to be the next president of the United
They're going to say there's some bullshit patriotic song here.
States?
God bless the USA.
Prayer works. This nation based on faith. Prayer works.
Did it work for the Native Americans when you wiped them out? Did it work for the slaves you took from Africa, right? Or the indentured servants that came from Ireland or these other places? Or, any number of people, right? Prayer isn't for your material well-being. Prayer is for you to find out what God wants you to do. Find out your soul's path. And accept the things you have to go through as gifts from God, even if they're horrible, right? Prayer isn't something where you say, God, this is the way I want it. I'm praying to you to give me what you want. Prayer is begging as opposed to, prayer is begging, meditation is receiving. When you're begging God for something, you might get a little bit of reprieve. Oh, this MNFer can't handle what we're giving to him. This type of thing, right? But, in reality, you're going to die. So, everyone would pray not to die. If prayer worked, there'd be no dead people, right? Nobody would die, right, if prayer worked in that way. Begging God for something that you can't have. Begging God for a result that isn't yours to have, right? A result that isn't backed by the divine will. Or something that is backed by a divine will, but everything's so screwed up on the planet that can't happen. But either way, you're going to die, right? So, you can pray to die the right way.
Because he was sure, as Donald Trump turned his head just slightly, that the bullet missed him just enough.
Just enough. As he turned his head just slightly, it's a miracle. God made him turn his head to the right, just so slightly, ever so slightly. Actually, it's to the left. Because he was, I don't know, the bullet missed him on the right side. He hit his right ear. So he had to turn away to the left, right? But the guy was such a marksman, this 20-year-old kid without a scope, who was 150 yards away with an AR-15 and just, eyeballed it and put one on Donald Trump's big pumpkin head. But Donald Trump just happened to turn. It's like those goofy movies where a Secret Service guy dives in front of somebody. You have to dive before the bullet gets there, right? You understand? You can't hear a shot and beat the bullet to a person, right? You can't outrace a bullet. You can't even see them an effing thing, right? And so for you to get in front of, like, Donald Trump had to turn his head before the guy shot, right? Just like as the guy's pulling his trigger, he would have to turn his head. And, just silly.
Save his life to be the next president of the United States.
There's his goofy. There's a Speaker of the House guy, and there's the goofy vice president.
We have believed for so long that God
Look at this. Look at this guy, right?
will make some changes in this country. And he's about to make a change
Remember her weird speech?
in the current administration
Guilfoyle.
and send them home. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Tonight, we make the decision on what's right for America. More
No, it's not really tonight.
prosperity, less gas prices, less
God wants you guys to pay less at the pump. God wants to reduce gas prices.
food prices, help for our veterans, and God bless our military wherever they are in this United States
He's in a defensive position.
and abroad. There would be no wars.
Ladies
there wasn't
and
any when
gentlemen,
President Trump was
please
president.
welcome the next president of the United States.
Here he strolls in wearing a big ass bandage. Now, my wife said there was video of him golfing without a bandage on. Don't know if that's true or not, but here he comes wearing his red tie, his power tie, and his big bandage, marching out.
Donald J.
Bloodied warrior, right? This WWF sort of, red meat type of thing. They can't stop me from fighting. They can't shoot me. They can't graze my ear.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life.
We're putting his fist in the air. That's his symbol now.
And I had to
Keep
stop
on fighting.
out again. Just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today.
Boom.
Because the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
Is he crying? Bro, you crying. The flag stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. Can't take your freedoms away and your flag, your goofy flag. Look at, it's okay, bro. It wasn't a real bullet.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Or at least he knows he's free. Yeah, look at him pumping his fist with his big thing here and his thing WWE style. He's coming in. Yep, did it. Show off your bandage, right?
And defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. Sing it!
Sing it. He's bumping his fist.
God bless the USA.
God bless that US of A. This is performative, right? This is what the Republicans want. This is what Trumpers want. He doesn't give a shit about this. Like, he's performing. He's an actor, right? He's a, person who is a salesman and a con man and an actor. And he's playing a part here, a role, crisis actor here, and then coming out playing the, milking this for everything it's worth. Tucker Carlson.
We are here tonight in one purpose, and that is to elect Donald J. Trump
His boys and his ghoul.
as the next president
Give him a thumbs up. Donnie Jr.
of the United States.
His VP.
He is here tonight to show his courage, his defiance against
So Ivanka and Jared Kushner aren't there. They're not coming to the celebration even after he got shot in the ear. Like, his own kids are distancing them, his chosen one. He loves that daughter more than any of his other kids, Ivanka. She was sitting on his lap with creepy stuff. There's all these creepy pictures of him and his daughter when she was a child, and he bragged about how she was, let's go to that here. So he's on The View, back when The View ladies liked him.
Really disappointing. Not really.
Not really disappointing that his daughter would pose for Playboy. Not really. He would disappoint, but not really, because he'd look at the pictures. I mean, just because he's a concerned dad.
But it would depend on what was inside the magazine. I don't think Ivanka would do that inside the magazine, although she does have a very nice figure.
It's just creepy, right? Like that's, imagine saying that about your daughter. Like it should make you cringe inwardly, even thinking that, right?
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Oh, it's so weird.
So, yeah, she's really something, and what a beauty, that one. If I weren't happily married, and her father, I mean, just like weird, right? And he said this a number of times. So that's his chosen. He just loves Ivanka more. Jared Kushner, right? So, they ditched him. They're not even there at the convention. They haven't been on the campaign with him, even after he got his ear shot.
Somebody who tried to
He's got Tiffany, though, Tiffany Trump, right? And this dope here.
kill him. You will not take this man down.
You'll not take this man down with with an imaginary bullet that did hit his ear. You can't take this guy down with an imaginary bullet.
He has the courage, the strength, and he will be the next president of the United States.
Boom. Fight, fight, fight. Look, she just did the Catholic cross. Boom.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee,
Boom. Sing it.
across the plains
Tennessee.
of Texas, from sea to shining sea.
Boom.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th President of the United States and soon to be the 47th President of the United States.
This tool here, he's just really...
Please welcome
Is J.D. Vance not married?
Donald J. Trump.
Donald J. Trump. Woo! You ain't free, bro. There's no freedom here, and it isn't something new. Freedom is an illusion.
And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Okay, so, this is just giving you what you want. All these Republican patriotic people, he doesn't believe this. He ain't that guy. He ain't one of you. He's not like you. And this is all BS anyway, because the system's going to implode. The only reason we have this lifestyle is we take other people's shit, right? We take other people's resources, and we've rigged the game in our favor. That's why we have enjoyed the lifestyle that we have. And, and that's going to be for whatever period of time before they take it away. Or it's taken away by God, right? One way or another. Everything's taken away. You can't take it with you, right? When you die, it's gone. And you have something today and it's gone tomorrow. That's how life works. It sucks. If you can't accept change and accept the inevitability of that everything changes and it's for your betterment, even when it isn't pleasant or desirable. Woo! They brought Tucker right. Tucker's got front row. Sing it, Donald. Do a fish boy. Look at him. It doesn't look like a guy who just avoided death, right? It looks like, all right, let's get this thing over with. Do your dance. Do your dance. Do your thing where you have your string on your hoodie and you go back and forth. You got a point. Yeah, I know that guy. I think this guy is this dude gay? What's up with this guy? Point at him. Point. Yeah, point. Woo! 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 Yeah, that's that guy over there. Yeah, that guy. Woo! Woo! Just raise that fist on him. Thank you. Thank you. Give him a salute. Salute him. He's in the military of musicians. USA. 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 Sing it. Yeah, do it, Browns. Do it, Fish Boy. You got it. Show him off. Just show off your non-existent wound here, where the ketchup came pouring out. Like, he got some ketchup in his ear. He took a bow or two to get that ketchup out.
Please welcome Mark Laws from Cedar Springs, Michigan.
Boom. How do I want to follow that? Who's this guy? Fight, 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 fight. That was his chant. Fight, 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 fight. Some 20-year-old kid tried to take him out, and he's just, the Secret Service let him down. But God made him move his head just at the last minute, and boom, now he comes out and says, fight, 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 fight. There you go. Pump that fist out. You get a shake weight. Dial needs to do a shake weight. Yeah, his speech is until Thursday. You guys didn't get the memo? You can't give it today. It would wreck the whole guy. It'll wreck the whole thing. This is not a guy who just avoided death. Look at him. Like he just got the news. This is his moment of glory, and they're going to screw him again in November. Like he looks like a little sad sack. Look, he's trying to force a smile. All right, let's sit down. There's enough of this. There you go. Let this guy speak. That guy, he's got to follow this guy. How's he going to... What do you got to say? You're our hero. Look at this line right here. Looks like the toad in the Winter of the Willows. Boom. We love you, President Trump. You're a great president. You President Trump. So this comes down to whether you want to know if the truth about Santa Claus or not. Do you want to know if Santa Claus is real or not, or you just want to enjoy the hoax? You just want to enjoy perpetrating the hoax on your own kids, right? Do you want to just be lied to about what's going to happen, even though it's, you're avoiding something that you should be preparing for, that you should be adjusting yourself for, you should be re-examining your priorities in life? It's really about the essence of being a truther, right? Because when you really become a truther, it stings. And for the right-wing truthers who believe in a deep state and believe the Democrats are the villains and all this stuff, that there's this left-wing deep state thing, this QB stuff, all of it. You haven't changed anything. You still believe you're the same kind of person. You still have the same friends. You're doing the same stuff you did before. And it hasn't stung. Like, it stings when you realize the whole thing is corrupt. The whole system, we're an evil empire. We're going against the divine order of things. We're materialistic, and we're disconnected from our soul, our churches, our religions, our governments. All these things are taking you away from what's best for you. We're becoming dumber and dumber, more entitled, weaker each generation. Idiocracy has set in. Our morality has collapsed, right? And people say, well, it's the left. No, there's always people who want to go against morality. There's the decadent people, the evil people, the sociopaths, the people who are, either through their own trauma and abuse or past life stuff or just the nature of what they've become as a ego, go against the will of God. They're pissed off at God. They're decadent. They indulge. Those people are always going to try to bring everyone else down with them. So it's the people that supposedly are religious, supposedly are godly people. Those are the people that are supposed to uphold morality, women more than men. And so when that collapses, when your religion sucks and pushes people away, and your religion isn't delivering a connection between you and God, but is acting like a middleman to exert money power and becoming a religious power, the power of religion. And so all these Republican type people, all you people who are Republican type people, who believe in the sanctity of the family and these things, which is a good things, and you have some sort of relationship with God, maybe not internal one, but at least you're doing something where other people aren't. But you're missing the point here that the system isn't a good system. America and God aren't aligned. America isn't God's country. God didn't bless America, right? God blesses everything and everybody. God is love, right? God is available for everybody who seeks God. Everybody, God doesn't look for you. God's waiting for you, right? God's always there waiting for you. And so it's just a matter of you reaching out to God and having some sort of relationship. And so if you're the kind of person who just wants the illusion that you grew up with to be upheld, even though it's completely false, and even though it's collapsing around you, and you're screwing over your kids and your grandkids by not preparing them for the inevitable collapse of our decadent system, well then, yeah, go with Trump, right? Go have this flim-flam man lie to you as he, fleeces the country, the same way Biden is doing what he's, they're both the same guy, right? Both of them are Blagojevich, right? Both of them are Blagojevich, who are cutting themselves a deal, looting what's left of the American wealth, right? And so, yeah, if you want to be lied to, and you want to, hum along with this tune and feel good and momentary thing and believe that Trump was shot in the ear. He was shot in the ear by some 20-year-old kid without a scope 150 feet away, or whatever you want to believe. So it was a trained assassin up there. The Secret Service were involved, and they were really trying to kill him. He was really he was supposed to be dead. Those guys were trying to kill him. The deep state went after Trump, but Trump said, no, I'm turning my head because God told me to, and boom. And so, if that's what you want to believe, then great. But don't, and most people do want to believe shit like this. It's sad, but it's true. That's why my channel gets, so few views compared to right-wing truther crap. Alex Jones is pushing this stupid narrative that this was a real assassination attempt. Alex Jones called out all these other things before they sued him, all these other events and things. And, now he's for this one, though. This one was real. Trump's not a crisis actor. He's a real guy. He's a real hero. His ear was bloodied by a bullet that just miraculously grazed his ear, just enough to show you that he was shot at and there was blood. Imagine if he didn't have remember what I said when the first thing happened? Imagine the difference between the bloody ear or nothing. Just you're told there were bullets. But you put a little ketchup on your ear, it's a completely different thing, because he's been struck by a bullet, allegedly. So come on. Time to grow up. He was struck by an imaginary bullet. Okay, I missed something I thought about. I've been working outside. Let's revisit this right here when he says this to RFK Jr.
And it was a bullet going around. What do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
What is it called? An AR-15? Those are pretty tough guns. You don't know what an AR-15 is? You are the Second Amendment candidate, right? He's the NRA candidate. You're the guy who's supposed to be defending the Second Amendment. And the number one thing you're defending is AR-15s, which are, everyone knows are being targeted. And here it is again being targeted. And, it's a pretty big gun, right? It's a pretty tough gun. It's a tough gun, right? It's pretty big, pretty tough. What is it? AR-15, what is it? You ever seen one? You have a Donald Trump AR-15. Here's your goofy son holding up an AR-15 with a Hillary locked behind bars as a cartridge, right? As the clip. And so it's ridiculous that he doesn't know what an AR-15 is, right? I mean, it's kind of important. One of its most important things, one of the biggest supporters of the Republican Party and Trump is the NRA, and he just claims he doesn't know what an AR-15 is. Okay, so I want to go to the Biden Lester Holt video, and there's another video, another interview that's out there of him doing another interview that looks like he's just falling apart. So Joe Biden is like deteriorating while everyone's paying attention to Trump. So that's great. So I want to revisit this picture here. So, this is a staged photo, right? Like, this is stagecraft. Now, this was published by so many Trump supporters because it shows, like, it's one guy compared it to Iwo Jima, some of these other iconic photos and things that happen in history. With him getting an imaginary bullet, having some ketchup on his face, his fist in the air, and these guys all like, this is, very reminiscent of the photo in World War II with the flag. This flag here where they're hoisting the flag, right? And this is stagecraft as well. Like these are things that, staging photos is something that's gone on now for a number of years. Just making people pose even though it looks like it's an organic photo. And this guy's looking right at the camera here. This guy. But the key to it is, the blood, obviously, and the fist. But the key is this thing right here, the flag, draped behind Trump, right? And it's just another way. It's just so greasy. And then what you just saw with with him being introduced and all these things. Like I say, I want to get to Biden. I want a few more things to get through here. But you just got to realize, at what point as a Trumper do you realize, this should be like well, yeah, he's definitely in on it, right? Because before this, this was in debate, whether Trump knew or not. Like, I could never say I was sure that Trump was consciously aware of, like, the whole thing, right? Like, he could easily be worked by his ego. He could be controlled by his ego. And he could think he's president, even though he's got handlers or whatever. And to some extent, that happens with all these guys, right? They only let you know what you need to know. He's got such a big mouth that they probably don't tell him very much, right? But this event shows you that he's a crisis actor and he's completely compromised. That he's, not even a little bit organic. And so, this is a big deal. Because before you didn't know. Like, at least I didn't know. You could think but this is something where he's participating in this, one of these events as a crisis actor. And that's just not, that's the ultimate deal breaker and indication the guy's completely handled and controlled, doesn't have any autonomy, and he's just going along with it. And, he knows that this is deep state stuff, right? He's doing deep state stuff here. Okay, so I got a little bit more to show you the convention, funny stuff, then we'll get to Jojo Magoo debacle and interview and all these things and his meltdowns. But first, I turned on the Morning Joe this morning briefly, the beginning of it. They're really upset because they got yanked. And they show some images that tell you everything you need to know.
Convention was about party unity. We'll show you the remarks from Donald Trump's former rivals. Plus, we'll have the latest on the investigation into Saturday's assassination attempt with new reporting on where police snipers were while the shooter was on the roof. Also ahead, the fallout from...
She was about to talk about Bob Bendis, but, they're sad over there. But look at this pigsty the Republicans left behind them. Now, maybe they rushed out a little bit because of the shooting, but they could have picked up some of their crap or all of it, right? They left all their signs. They left all their water bottles and things, right? So they probably rented, it looks like a farm area. And so this is some kind of rural area. And so they probably rented this farm, or maybe it was donated to them by somebody who's a Trump supporter. People do that kind of thing. And someone's got to clean up all this mess. Obviously, they have to put all the chairs away and stuff, but like, it's a pigsty, right? Now, maybe, I don't know, they think it's a crime scene. They've left it sort of the way it is, but, like, you probably go to any of these events and the Democrats are probably even worse. Like, how can you think about saving America? This is what you do when you're at one of these events, right? This is what you leave behind. Like, how can you think about, like, making the world a better place and all these things if this is the kind of mess you leave? You can't even pick up after yourself, right? It's deplorable. And this is, you go to the convention floor, this is what it'll be like, and some, stooges have to clean up. But whoever owns this if this is a farm and not a venue, then, they're going to have to, I don't know how they're going to get this clean, right? I mean, whatever. I mean, just imagine. Like if you were like a family and you rented this out for like $5,000 and you had to spend 6 weeks picking up all the trash, right? I guess you could hire some people, but it's an indication of like you think you're saving the world. You're going to this rally and you're cheering and you're saying all these things about how Trump's going to save the world, but this is what you do, right? This is who you are. Okay, Trump's kids are really douches, especially his sons. Really unlikable.
Give us a sense of how what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday.
She said Butler. My kids, when they were little, used to, they thought Butler was a derogatory term, like calling somebody a butt. They would say, stop being a butler.
Has changed you and the campaign.
Yeah, when your father hits the ground because somebody tries to take off his head with a rifle,
with an imaginary bullet.
It obviously changes you. It changes everybody. And scary moment. I was watching with my two kids, 6 and a 4-year-old on your lap, and obviously the unthinkable happened. And
you guys like to look, there it is. That's no imaginary bullet. It's right there for everyone to see.
You hear the gunshots rain out.
Whizzing by him.
And then you see a bunch of people jump on top.
Look at the tiny hand. Look at that tiny little hand.
Gunshots rain out, and then you see a bunch of people jump on top of him. You see him come up with, blood running down.
With ketchup on his face? He had a quick burger. He had a burger hidden underneath. He fell on it into his ear.
His face, it's unthinkable. And, 48 hours later, we were here in Milwaukee, and I was casting the vote. I was a delegate for Florida, but I was casting the vote that would ultimately make him, the Republican nominee for president of the United States. And you want to talk about highs and lows in life in a short period of time.
Those are highs and lows. You got shot in his ear. The next day, he's being nominated for president. Who would have thought?
Highs and lows, but when he stood up, when he got up again, blood running down his face, and put his fist in the air and said, "Fight, fight, fight."
Yeah, this stage thing here, right? This WWE.
I couldn't be more proud of him.
He was on. One of my viewers left a comment.
He's a fierce competitor, but you've never.
There he is, Trump. There's Trump. What's he doing here? He's going to come in. Here's Trump taking down Vince McMahon. Boom. Is that Trump or is that the guy wearing a Trump wig? Look at he's punching him just like his weird punching things that he does. And he gets up and he ends up in the ring here. He gets in the ring. He's pointing to Vince McMahon and saying, "Hey, don't come here. I'll get you again." And then here he is, classic Trump. Here, look at him. Look at him, right? This is a pose. He throws a fist up in the air. This is where he learned his crisis acting skills. Here he is, right? The Donald being a crisis actor, doing his thing. Doing his WWE takedown, right? This is him. I didn't know he did this, but it makes total sense now. And these Trump kids, they really like to kill these animals. Like there's a sickness here. This is not, there's a water buffalo there. They killed this leopard. This is big game hunting. It isn't killing for food. Hunting for food is great. And I think anybody eat meat, and again, you can make a case that people aren't carnivorous. I don't believe that's, I was a vegetarian for a while, and, people can decide whether they want to eat meat or not. But, hunting is one thing, killing your own food, so you participate in that event instead of outsourcing it. But these guys kill just to kill. They have money, they go to Africa, do this big game hunting, right, they call it. Is this an elephant they're killing here? And then this, I don't know, just complete piece of crap, these guys, right? These POSs. And then this guy here.
What's that change going to look like, Don? What practically your father, as president, I think you would even say was a divisive figure. What's it going to look like in the second term?
I don't think he was a divisive figure at all. I think the media created divisiveness around him. They lied about Russia collusion. They said he was a traitor.
There's that Kimberly Guilfoyle did that epic speech last convention.
They went after him in every which way as possible. If the media actually starts being an honest broker talking about the things that he did.
So he keeps on going here.
Covered the family separation crisis closely. Will we continue to see policies like separating 5,000 children deliberately from their parents?
You mean the Obama administration?
You know they didn't do that, sir.
Okay. Sure.
Will there be a second family separation policy?
It's MSDNC, so I expect nothing less from you clowns. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait.
Even after 48 hours after my dad had ketchup smeared on his ear, you guys couldn't wait. Playing the victim card, right?
You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. So just get out of here.
Just get out of here. Get out of here. You're fired. So Marjorie Taylor Greene makes this weird humming sound while she's giving this speech here.
Is a celebration. The American spirit is alive and well. And we have once again nominated for president the founding father of the America First movement, Donald John Trump.
You can barely hear it there. She's either laughing or humming. She's making this weird sound when she smiles.
Unfortunately, this is also a somber moment for our
It's very somber. You got an imaginary bullet almost hit him in the head.
nation. 2 days ago, evil came for the man we admire and love so much.
Donald John Trump.
I thank God that his hand was on President Trump.
Well, he didn't. Why his hand wasn't big enough to protect his ear? It was. And at the end of this thing, she just starts making this noise.
They tell us the border wall is or the powerful few.
What is that?
Donald Trump has and he will make America successful again.
What's she doing?
He will make us wealthy again. And as God as my witness, he will finally give us the country we deserve.
That's so bizarre. But anyways, so that's the convention. Now, these conventions are horrible. So I saw this picture. I've now seen 3 Cybertrucks on the road. Cybertruck has a sloped roof. Just saying. And I say this to my wife because we saw one together the other day, and we had both seen one separately, and then we saw another one. And they're so weird looking. Like they're just not like anything on the road, but not, it's not in a good way. Right? And I'm saying it's like that movie Logan's Run. Like they have these cars, and it was like what we thought cars in the 1980s were going to look like now, but they don't look like that at all, except for him. Here's one of these cars, right? Like the Cybertruck. Looks like one of these cars from Logan's Run. Like this one, right? And then this thing here. And so, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Like it's how we thought cars were going to look like that, but they don't. But Elon Musk tried to make one anyway. And then there's this here. We recently received many requests to suspend or otherwise impact accounts on the left. However, its X is a free speech platform that aspires to give equal voice to all within the bounds of the law. This is what we will do. Is incitement of violence against a former president considered free speech? This guy's got a check mark and everything. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock on Wednesday, July 17th. Just trying to wrap this thing up here. I got Joe Biden got COVID, and I got the interview to do. And they're spiraling, the Democrats, which is hilarious, right? I say this over and over again. It's something that I do in my own life, right? I think about it, like in terms of, I mock people all the time. So if I get mocked, I can't whine like a little boop, because it's what I do, right? When you're doing a behavior, you have to accept that the behavior is going to come back to you, right? That's why it's easy for me to get these nasty comments and things from people. I can accept them. They don't bother me because, I'm doing the same behavior, right? I can't complain about them doing something to me that I do to other people, except I do it better, And oftentimes the way they do it is just stupid. But still, it doesn't bother me. It's just, if it bothers me at all, it's their lack of, I can use the comments, and I'll be reading some comments at the end of this video. I read them, and it's fun for me to do that. But if it bothered me at all, it would be because they suck at it, right? You know, it's they're giving a bad name to mocking. But if you're against deplatforming and censorship, and then you start whining about when the Democrats say something you don't like, and you complain to Elon Musk to censor them, right? It just sucks. Like, it's just, why do that? Like, it's just the ultimate entitlement and hypocrisy mixed together into one ugly behavior, right? And if Joe Biden had gotten shot and all these people would say, oh, like, too bad they missed, it'd be a thing. So don't whine about that the Democrats are saying. Of course they're going to think that way. That's how they feel about Trump. And, I know why they feel that way, right? Trump provokes people, just like Biden, the whole thing. It's a divided country, and people are out for blood. Not personally, but they'd like to see it happen for the most part, right? And it's just the whole thing's goofy and fake and just, like it's just performative and WWE and all those things. All right, so let's get to Biden. I want to wrap this thing up. Biden is just imploding. What's great about the Biden thing is, the Democrats are so screwed right now. And, I'm not rooting for Trump to win, obviously. And he's reached a new low being a crisis actor. Someone's got upset when I called Trump a crisis actor. I'll read that comment later. But, that all sucks. And for me, Trump is, I just wish he would go away. Or people just stop paying attention to him. But, if he's going to be president for the next 4 years, it's just going to be sucky. I'm not saying Biden's going to be better. I'm not voting. And it doesn't really matter. I don't care if you vote. Like, it doesn't matter to me if you vote. And I don't care what you believe. I don't go to your sites, your Trumper sites, your QB sites, your right-wing sites, your channels, and tell you how bad you suck. Like, I don't, if I've learned anything, and what you guys should all learn, is you can't really change other people's opinions or beliefs. That's what the internet has taught all of us. People are going to believe whatever the fuck they want, right? And you can't do anything about it. And if you start getting into other people's beliefs and feeling like you want to change them, that's when you really get into trouble. That's when things go south, right? Because you're trying to do something that can't be done. And shouldn't be done. Like, you have to change you. Like, you have to, if you learn anything from my channel, it's that you have to change. I have to change. I'm responsible for my changing and my becoming a better person. You're responsible for your relationship with God and you becoming a better person, right? Each person has to answer to their soul and the divinity within them. And for most of the rest of us, for everyone else, it doesn't really, unless it affects us directly, somebody's sucking. And sometimes it does. Other than that, when people are just talking on the internet, who cares what they're saying? Like, I don't. Like, I just don't listen to them, right? But if you're coming here and you enjoy what I say and you see that I have a different perspective, but you have issues with things that you can't deal with, for example, Trump, well then, that's a major problem, right? That's your problem is that you're, what I'm saying is true, but you just can't handle the truth, right? But in terms of the stuff with the Democrats and Biden, they're in such a quandary because this Trump thing has given Biden an extended pass, and Trump is now having this celebratory victory dance where they're trying to feel out. They want to criticize Trump again, but they don't want to sound like they're, being murderous or, And so they're trying to feel out how they're going to attack Trump. And Biden is given a reprieve. And Trump is having this field day where he had, these weeks off where Biden was imploding. The numbers are now bad for Biden and getting worse. And they can't get rid of the guy, right? Because the Trump, the WWE fake blood assassin attempt, the ketchup attempt, we call it the ketchup event, right? The Trump's Heinz event in Pennsylvania. That's where they make Heinz, I believe. Has delayed them being able to do anything with Biden. And the weeks are just going by now. This whole, convention's going to happen. Trump's going to get a big boost from the convention. They always do. I don't know how people can sit through that shit, but it's brutal. It's horrible. But some people can, right? It's all meant for stupid people. That's the problem. These guys all pander to stupid people because, the people that they're most able to fool are the lower 50% in terms of the intelligence level and consciousness level. And so that's who they target, right? Those people are more likely to vote, and especially when they have concerns or whatever, and buy into the system. The Democrats are completely hopeless, and Biden has just done two horrible interviews. I'll show you the first one with Lester Holt. The other one I haven't really looked at yet. but I saw a little bit of it, and he's like still acting like he did in the debate. Like it's really bad. So let's get into it here because it's hilarious. We have a gaffe-filled interview to do with Biden, but there's a few other things to see here. Like it's the Biden and the Democrats are crumbling, but this story is also crumbling. This is one more thing about the shooter.
Here about the shooter.
Aaron, there's been some developments as the investigation has progressed. You know, what the investigators are telling us is, as far as a motive, a manifesto, the reasoning behind this, the suspect...
Again with the manifesto. Why bring up a manifesto? Like it's this idea that these guys all think the same way and do the same thing, even though they're complete loners and losers and antisocial people. They belong to some group that has existed for 100 years, whatever it is, and they've been doing these things, and they always do the same behaviors. It's just silly, right?
In fact, there's still a blank slate, but what they have developed is a lot of the background about what happened that day. They know that he went to his employer at the nursing home where he works as a dietary specialist before this and said, I need Saturday off. I have something important to do.
I'm going to go shoot the president in the ear with an imaginary bullet. Like, what is that? Like, it's silly. He called in sick. He thought he was coming back after that thing. He thought he was going to go and do this thing. And, yeah, I'll be back on Sunday, right?
But he told his coworkers, I'll see you on Sunday. So,
going to go shoot Trump in the air and then I'll come back to work on Sunday. Like, just silly. Like, the guy had all the ability to plan this thing, make bombs, scope out the scene, get some shots off at the president, but he didn't figure he would figure he made to get back. It's just stupid, right?
So he changed his days off, presumably for this. We also understand that when he got to the fairgrounds where this rally was being held for Donald Trump, the first thing that puts him on the radar of security people is near the magnetometer area where they're screening people in. He's carrying in his hand a rangefinder. It's a device that looks like a small pair of binoculars, but it's used by shooters.
Wait, he's got a rangefinder to gauge the distance of the shot he's about to take. Also, he doesn't have a scope on his gun, but he brought a rangefinder. He couldn't afford a scope. Like, a scope is kind of important when you're a sniper, but, didn't have one. He's trying to, use the sights, and which is, again, eyeballing that thing is like almost impossible. But he has a rangefinder, right? So he's bringing a rangefinder in
to measure the distance when they're setting up a long-distance shot. Because he didn't have a weapon, that would not have prevented him to go through security. But they did flag, what does he have this in his hand for? At that point, they told people, keep an eye on this guy, but then he leaves the security.
Yeah, you can keep a guy who brings a rangefinder to an event with a political candidate like Trump. Like, silly. You wouldn't make sure that there's somebody on him for the rest of the time. Like, all right, let's follow that guy. I mean, I think you can kick somebody out with, take his rangefinder, right? Make him answer some questions. Like, you bring a bottle of water into the airport and they're going to, bring you into a back room and interrogate you or some, shit or whatever. But, like, a guy brings a rangefinder at one of these events and he's like, oh, let's keep an eye on that guy. Let's keep an eye, like, why do you have a rangefinder? You ask him some questions.
Area, the staging area, and he doesn't turn up again for some time until the crowd says there's a guy crawling up the roof and it appears he has a rifle. There is the
guy with the rangefinder also has a rifle. That's weird.
Eerie moment in here, Aaron, where he's taking...
Look at the mess here. Look at this mess they left.
The rangefinder, and he's looking through it at the counter sniper positions, and one of the counter sniper positions is looking at him through the scope. At this point, there's not a gun in the picture, as I understand it, but they're saying he's looking at us, looking at him. Then when people...
My God. So the counter snipers... Let's go back to this thing here. It's this over here somewhere. It's here. So here's the counter snipers, right? Now, this guy's on the roof. As soon as he gets on the roof, they can see him. And their job is to find a sniper and take that sniper out. That's their one job, right? And he has an elevated position and a line of sight at the stage where Trump is. and he has a rangefinder, and you don't take your eyes off of him, and you're in communication with the, I mean, they have all these earpieces and they're talking to the other people there, the other, the people that are there for Secret Service, and say, there's a guy on the roof, get him off the roof, he's got a rangefinder. And they have their guns on him, they're waiting, that's why they shot so quickly when he finally pulled out his gun. And they say, anybody has a rangefinder, get him off the roof, right? And so, it isn't like it took him seconds to use the rangefinder, and they're watching him, right? And so the story just falling apart. Because the counter snipers have one job, and it's as soon as the guy got up on the roof, they would be like, get the guy off the roof. There's a guy on the roof. It's not one of us. You shouldn't be there. Get him off the roof. He has line of sight to the president, to Trump. They have line of sight to him. And so he'd be dead, right? Like they would say, get this guy, have some interaction with law enforcement, and they'd be on him, and they'd be asking for permission to shoot, right? There's a guy up there with the rangefinder. Does that seem suspicious in a position where he could take a shot at Trump? And so these two guys here would have killed this guy, right? Before, as soon as they saw a gun, they would be like, all right, we're watching this guy. And there would be an interaction with law enforcement. The whole thing's just silly.
Looking at him. Then when people alert the police and they try to come up the ladder to get him, and he confronts them with the AR-15 gun, they dive for cover, and then a moment later he opens fire. But a lot of this sounds
That's silly. It's ridiculous. It doesn't... as soon as he had a gun, and now he's interacting with police, and the snipers are there on him, because there's only one guy. There's only one guy they can see. There's only one position where they're looking at a counter sniper. Like, there's only one sniper position. It's on that roof across from them.
Very spread out. The end of it happens very quickly. The last piece is the search of the car. As we reported last night, 2 remote-controlled IEDs, remote-controlled bombs in the car. The remote control for those devices found on his person on the roof, according to sources. 3 fully loaded magazines with nearly 100 rounds, a bulletproof vest. So it raises the question, did he expect to escape from this? And
he said he was going to go see his coworkers on Sunday. So yeah, he did. He did expect to get away with this. He did expect it. Like, it's just silly. The whole thing just does fall apart. The story is ridiculous. The story is freaking ridiculous.
So what was all that intended for? What was to happen next? Questions that are still open in the minds of these investigators.
Right, I mean, I know.
So here's a leaked video of Trump talking about getting shot at some private meeting at the convention.
This has been our best campaign, and then I got shot. How does that happen?
He's got him trained like a bunch of monkeys. They're yelling, fight, fight, fight. And he did the fake fist thing.
Well, you say, how did that happen? But I got lucky. God was with me, I tell you. That was
it's blasphemous and pathetic to bring God into your fake thing, right? To your fake staged event.
That's what they call a close call. That was an amazing, horrible thing, amazing thing, and in many ways it changes your attitude, your viewpoint on life. And I think, honestly, I think you appreciate God even more. I really do, because something happened that...
God has nothing to do with this thing because it's completely fake. And, the Secret Service, why did they do their job? Like, why did God make them do their job? And, they're putting this on him moving at the last second and that the bullet was going to hit him in the head. But, let's look at that again here. So he's looking up at this chart, right? And he doesn't move his head at all. Look.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
His head didn't move at all. He turned his head, but the back of his head was still in line with the bullet, right? If the guy shot was accurate, again, it's all fake. But watch it again. We'll slow it down here.
Take a look what happened over
So he didn't move his head at all. His head was occupying the same area. He turned his head, but the back of his head would still be on the line of fire. And the fact is, the guy's at the angle the guy is, he would have, you know, I mean, I can't get a precise angle from this image here, but I think if it hit his ear, it would have went through the back of his head. Look at the position of his head here. I'll turn the volume off. So here's the thing. There's a shot, right? And so the position of his head is tilted like at an angle where, you know, he'd have to be in front of him, and it would have to whiz by his face there and then hit his ear. Like it's just, you know, otherwise if it's coming from this direction, it's going to hit him right here. It's going to hit him in the back. It's going to hit his ear and then go out the back of his skull, right? And so, I mean, the thing it's just really goofy. Doesn't add up. He didn't move his head. There was no divine providence, right? At best, it would have been the guy was a bad shot, but the guy had no scope. And so, you know, I mean, without a scope, how's he going to take a shot like that from 150 yards?
Not that it was pleasant. It wasn't like it was a complete miss. But it was pretty terrible that can happen.
The thing about it is Trump knows it's fake, right? He knows it is. And to bring God into it and say all these things, and, you know, there was no movement in his head. Like his head would have to move significantly. And so what they're saying is that it would have hit his ear, but he turned his head. But his head had been turned for a while because he kept on looking up at that chart that was there. But they're trying to make this as dramatic as possible, right? Hitting his ear made it a missed headshot. If it hits him in the shoulder or some other thing like this, right? But the ear, they just put a bandage on there. Nobody's like, you know, he'll take it off in a week or two or whatever it is, and then there'll be, you know, no evidence of any bullet hitting him unless they surgically took out a chunk of his ear or something, which I doubt he would tolerate. But the whole thing is just embarrassing at this point. I mean, it's always been embarrassing.
Republicans wrapping up the second night of their convention here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, putting on a carefully choreographed show of party unity as the Democrats remain divided over the future of President Biden's candidacy. Let's bring in CNN's Jeff Zeleny, who has more on the Democrats in, as is said, Democrats...
Wisconsin. It's pronounced Wisconsin.
...in disarray. Jeff, what are you picking up?
Jake, we heard throughout the evening the Democratic disarray and disunity really was the subject of punchline from Republican speaker after speaker, but it's anything but...
It's like the worst convention for the Democrats. I mean, they're just, you know, getting rolled here, like in a way that's, at this point, intentional, right?
Amusing to Democratic officials who are still dealing with this anger and alarm and panic that is coursing through the Democratic Party. Yes, the attention this week is focused on Republicans, but inside...
So basically what happened here is, see if we can find it, right here.
But in addition, post-debate, it's like Waterloo. He's vulnerable in Colorado. He's vulnerable in Minnesota. He's vulnerable in Maine.
Biden losing, this is their own poll, the Democrats' internal poll. Biden losing ground to Trump in 14 states, right? And now, of course, these states that New Hampshire and Maine, like he loses those states. I mean, this is embarrassing, right? All these various, this little thing in Nebraska, part of Nebraska even. But these are all the swing states, and he's losing ground in every one of them. And he's going to get rolled up, right? Right now, if the election took place, it would be a landslide. So the interview is next, right? All those things happened, today's July 18th. Those things happened on July 16th, and then yesterday, this happened last night on the 17th.
The United States was about to speak, but something has gone on. We've just gotten new information. Tell us about that.
Well, President Biden has just tested positive for COVID.
What? Man, this is a very, very, very bad week. So it starts off with him not having the ability to get through a debate, then a disastrous interview, and then they're talking to getting rid of him. Trump gets shot in the ear. You know, why couldn't Mike get shot in the ear? You know, they're about ready to get rid of Biden. Then they're going into the convention with Trump, you know, being this WWE hero. And now Biden has COVID. Like, how many times can they use COVID as an excuse? They don't want him out there. Like he's, you know, I have the one interview I'm going to show you in a second. and then the other interview. And it's a disaster, right? Like, it's an absolute disaster, unmitigated disaster for Biden. And, like, they can't get rid of him right now. Like, the whole thing's on Trump, all this stuff, the news. I mean, it'd be smart for them to get rid of him, but they can't. And so, like, it's just the time is ticking.
According to the president of UNIDOS, the leader of the organization that was set to host President Biden here in Las Vegas this afternoon amid a flurry of outreach that the president was doing to black voters and Hispanic voters as he tried to shore up support from critical constituencies. The UNIDOS president noting that Biden has done many more public events. He's been with crowds. He was just at a local restaurant earlier this afternoon filming an interview with a local Latino media outlet.
Okay, so this is a disaster. One more disaster for the Bidens. She knows, she gets it. So like I said, there's another interview I have from some kind of internet guy. But this was from Lester Holt, and it is a unmitigated disaster for Biden.
Mr. President, thank you for sitting down with us. There's a lot to talk about. With the horrible events of last weekend, it has shocked a lot of Americans. A political rally, your opponent, Donald Trump, shot in the middle of greeting
his ear, right in the middle of his ear, they got him.
His supporters.
Greeting his supporters? That's not what happened. He was there for anyway.
You spoke to Mr. Trump afterward. Can you give me a sense of that conversation?
Very cordial. I told him how concerned I was and wanted to make sure I knew how he was actually doing. He sounded good. He said he was fine. And he thanked me for calling him. I told him he was literally in the prayers of Jill and me.
Literally. We weren't figuratively praying for him. We were literally praying, right?
And I hope his whole family was weathering this.
You were in Delaware when this happened. What was your first reaction?
I'm screwed.
Reaction was, my God, this is, look, there's so much violence now, the way we talk about it. I mean, the whole notion that there is this...
Okay, so he's gone. Like, his face is gone. Like, there's nobody home. They've tried to get him to look like Trump. They've given him some color here, some kind of spray tan or something.
There's no place at all for violence in politics in America. None. Zero.
Zero. Let's make that clear. There was until this shooting.
And we've reached a point where it's become too commonplace, not assassinations, but to talk about it. For example, you know,
so he doesn't make any sense, right? Like, this is he's like he was on the debate thing. Like, he was a little bit better in the George Stephanopoulos thing, even though he wasn't. But his answers were a little bit crisper. But this one's a disaster. He's babbling.
You know, the January 6th, the attack on the Capitol. Lester, I got in this race early on in 2020 for the 2020 race. I wasn't going to run again because I lost my son. I didn't.
So this has nothing to do with what the question was, right?
And until I watched what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, those folks coming out of the woods with torches, carrying swastikas, singing the same Nazi bile. It was accompanied by this Ku Klux Klan, and a young woman was killed. And it was a bystander. And
this story's been debunked, but this is all about Trump and his people. Nothing about Biden, even though Biden's pulled his ads, right?
The then president was asked, what do you think? He said, they're very fine people on both sides. Not fine people on both sides. No excuse. Zero.
Well, let's talk about the...
Okay, so that story's been debunked. And this is about Trump. This is all about Trump having, turned, even though Trump's the one who's been shot, like he's,
Conversation this has started, and it's really about language.
Allegedly.
What we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was what I guess I was talking about.
I guess what I was talking about, so you have no idea. I guess what I was talking about?
At the time was there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term was bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus.
So he's just gone, right? They started saying he made a mistake, which would have been good, because he needs to own some of this, right? They're talking about he brought the Nazis up. He's comparing Trump to Hitler, right? Which has been going on.
on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that look. I'm not the guy that said I want to be a dictator on day one.
So it's Trump. It's all about Trump. He deserved to be shot.
I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that won't accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus.
Of course, you weren't going to say you were going to say I'm not going to accept the election when you won in 2020. Like no one would do that.
Was on what he's saying, and I mean the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
Well, I don't think. Look,
So he's just lost, but he needs to own some of this because he's pulled his own act, right? He said we got to take down the temperature, but he's got to. It's only Trump that's got to take down the temperature. You can't say that, right?
how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, talking about how he's going to forgive all the, actually, I guess, suspend the sentences of all those who were.
So again, he's blaming it all on Trump. He's babbling again, right?
Arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol. I'm not out there making fun of, like, remember the picture of Donald Trump when Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit with a hammer, talking about, joking about it?
This doesn't sound like you're turning down the heat, though. You've talked about the need.
No. Look, what I'm turning down, we have to stop the whole notion that there are certain things that are contrary to our democracy that we're for. The idea of saying that I didn't win the election, when every court in the land.
So again, he's trying to turn us on Trump and it's failing. Like this wasn't that interview. Like this was a time to say, all right, yeah, like we both have said things that I've implied things about Trump that would create a problem. Like he's the devil and he's a Hitler. And that if he gets elected, our country's going to be destroyed. The world's going to be destroyed. Right? That's what he said. I mean, that's what he's, look at him. He looks horrible.
And I don't know, 20
This is the lines on his head that just don't work right.
appeals said, and including this conservative Supreme Court, said we won. The idea of having a loyalty pledge from all the folks who are in a Republican MAGA, not all Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, saying that, no, we lost the election, inflaming the people to say,
So what can you and what will you do, at least things you can control to lower down the temperature, the rhetoric out there?
Continue to talk about the things that matter to the American public.
No, what are you not going to talk about, right? So he can't answer the questions. He's struggling. And this is a moment where he just has to take a little responsibility. He doesn't have the mental flexibility to take some ownership of what he's done. He's just putting it all on Trump, which is a huge mistake. This is why he has COVID now, right? Because the guy can't do it. They're trying to hide him away till they get rid of him. They can't, he's just damage control.
It matters whether or not you accept the outcome of elections. It matters whether or not you, for example, talk about.
So you want Trump to turn down the rhetoric, correct? It's him.
How you're going to deal with the border instead of talking about people as being vermin. And
the question was, how are you going to turn down the rhetoric, not what Trump has to do?
I mean, those things matter. That's the kind of language that is inflammatory.
Mr. President, you've been in politics a very long time, so let's speak frankly. We're all adults here. Has this shooting changed the trajectory of this race?
I don't know.
Yeah, it has. Come on, bro.
You don't know either.
I don't know, but have something you've given thought to?
No, I've thought less about the trajectory of the case than two things. One, what his health is, that was secure, number one. And number two, what happens from here on in terms of the kind of coverage that the president and vice president and former president and new vice president get in terms of.
New vice president. He just said J.D. Vance, who hadn't been named yet, is the new vice president, like making it sound like Trump's a shoo-in.
Look, I've never seen a circumstance where you ride through certain rural areas of the country and people have signs there, big Trump signs with middle signs saying F Biden, and a little kid standing there putting up his middle finger. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that is just inflammatory. And
what about the Biden supporters that are saying that they wish the guy didn't miss? Like, he just doesn't get it, right? He's like, he doesn't know. He's clueless.
A kind of viciousness. It's a very different thing than to say, look, I really disagree with Trump's, the way he takes care of taxes, the way he...
He's like, this is a disaster.
Wants a $5 trillion tax cut for people who make a lot of money next time around. Doesn't focus on working class people.
But those are policy issues, and our history is a country that can thoroughly hash out those issues.
And if you notice, what do I talk about with him? The policy issues where he's divided.
You call him basically a devil and a disaster, and he's going to take down democracy, and you're fighting for the soul of America. Those are not, that's all inflammatory stuff, right?
The country. The policy issues that relate to democracy.
Another question, if I can, about Saturday. Of course, the former president was wounded. One of his supporters died. A couple more people were seriously injured. Was this a massive security failure?
I have had 2 meetings in the Situation Room with all the intelligence communities, the FBI, Secret Service, et cetera, and I've asked for a totally independent analysis.
From who? Like one of them guys that you talked to?
And we'll see what happens when that comes back.
Do you have confidence in the Secret Service? Do you feel safe?
I feel safe with the Secret Service, but look, and you saw, what we did see was the Secret Service who responded risked their lives in responding.
No, they failed. It's like they gave him an open shot to his head. They let him celebrate and pumped his fist. I mean, come on. Like, the whole thing was an unmitigated disaster. We know even more now that this was a couple days ago.
They're ready to give their lives to the president. The question is, should they have anticipated what happened?
Yeah, they should have. The guy had this rangefinder.
Should they have done what they needed to do to prevent this from happening?
Yeah, they should have.
The question, that's an open question.
It's not. It's a closed question. It was when you did the interview, and it's even more so now. There's a failure because they weren't real agents. They were actors.
I have to believe you have still not heard, at least publicly, from the Secret Service director?
Well, I've heard from them.
But have you heard from her publicly?
Publicly. I've sat down in a situation.
It's okay. That's a bad question, and he can't understand the question. Like, I understand it, so, what he's trying to say is the guy who's charged of the Secret Service has not come out and answered questions and made a statement and publicly came out, right? But he's like, well, I heard from him publicly. No, you heard from him privately.
Room downstairs, the Secret Service, the FBI, the national security agencies, the Homeland Security, all the major elements. And there's 2 pieces of this too. And it's not an excuse, it's just an explanation. There's a major piece of this relates to domestic, local law enforcement. They play a large role.
So he's throwing the local cops under the bus. So then he gets into his mental acuity.
You just decide to rest on those laurels. And the answer is because the job's not finished.
Do you feel like you've weathered the storm on this issue of whether you should be on the ticket or not?
Look, 14 million people voted for me to be the nominee.
It's not enough to get elected, bro.
In the Democratic Party.
In a non-primary.
Okay?
Okay, pal.
I listen to them.
In your last TV...
This is a disaster. If Trump hadn't been shot, he'd be out after this thing. But it's just like...
You were asked if you had watched the debate, and your answer was, I don't think so, no. Have you since seen it?
I've seen pieces of it. I've not watched the whole debate.
And the reason...
Yeah, why would you do that? Why would you watch a debate that everyone's concerned about your mental acuity?
Yes, because I guess the question is, are you all on the same page? Are you seeing what they saw, which was moments of, frankly, that you appeared to be confused?
Lester, look, why don't you guys ever talk about the 28 lies he told?
See, this is just all about Trump. It's a disaster.
Where are you on this? Why didn't the press ever talk about that? 28 times it's confirmed he lied in that debate.
He lied.
I had a bad, bad night. I wasn't feeling well at all. And I had been, without it making it, I screwed up. But
I just asked the question because the idea that you may or may not have seen what some of these other folks have seen, you're not on the same.
I'd have to see I was there.
That smug laugh.
I have to see it, I was there. And by the
Smug laugh.
way, seriously,
You weren't there. That's the whole problem. You're not here now. Look at him.
you won't answer the question, but why didn't the press talk about all the lies he told?
Well,
I haven't heard anything about that.
We have reported many of the issues that
No,
came up
you
during
haven't.
that debate.
No, you haven't.
We'll provide you with them.
God love you.
Okay. President Obama put out a statement after the debate, but should he and Michelle Obama be doing more to express their confidence in you?
No, they're helping me. They've helped me from the beginning. This is my job to get this done.
Have you talked to him recently about this?
I haven't talked to him in a couple weeks.
Have you talked to him since this issue came to light, since the debate?
I don't think, I may have. I don't think so.
I don't know if I talked to, my boss.
May have. I don't think so.
Who do you listen to on deeply personal issues like the decisions whether to stay in the race or not?
Me.
Listen to yourself. Oh, you listen to yourself. So he's alluding that maybe Obama would tell him to get out, but he doesn't have anybody. You just listen to yourself, nobody else?
Look, I've been doing this a long time. The idea that I'm the old guy, I am. I'm old. But I'm only 3 years older than Trump, number one. And number two, my mental acuity's been pretty damn good.
Oh, man.
I've gotten more done than any president has in a long, long time in 3.5 years. So I'm willing to be judged on that. I understand.
But not judged on my senility or not take tests, cognitive tests, and not be, he's just so far gone. And they don't know what to do about this. This sucks for them so bad. This was an unmitigated disaster. Of course they say it's COVID. They can't roll this guy out anymore. Like he's falling apart. They're trying to get rid of him. They don't know how. And like he's gone. He's not listening to anybody but himself. This is wonderful. Anyways. So as I've said before, there's no solution here. Even if we had a great president, even if we had someone who was, wonderful leader or whatever, there's no change in anything. There's no saving America. And so, it's just watching this for entertainment. I mean, Trump just sucks so bad. The convention's just so brutal. It's just so lame. It's just so aimed at stupid people. And speaking of stupid people, let's get to some of the comments here. I have a variety of them. And so let's see if this is where we need to start. I know I've read that one last time. There's a question a person had about reincarnation. I'll answer that at the end. And the answer is I don't know, but I'll answer it anyway. So this person writes, Darlene, I try to like your channel. However, my gut tells me you're jealous of what, Trump? What am I jealous of, right? My gut tells me you're jealous. It's hard to listen to. And then the person comes back and says, I'm not political. I've tried to listen with open mind. However, your opinion sounds smug. I'm unfollowing you. This is a person I've never heard of before. Like I don't know who this is. Like I don't, and they think I desperately want them to watch my videos, which, like if you watch the videos, you watch the videos. If you like them, you like them. But I'm not expecting somebody to sit there and listen to these videos if you don't agree with me or didn't like me or don't have any, you don't get anything from it. But this idea that I care about whether you're there's nothing there for me. Like sure, okay, you're not into this, great. You don't need to tell me. Like, you don't need to say I'm smug and jealous, right? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't even know who you are, right? Like, this is how people are, right? These Trumpers are particularly now. And so this person says, your videos are always refreshing and entertaining to hear, and I love the humor and the spiritual angle you weave your talks. Love your honesty, knowledge of sense of humor. Much appreciated from the UK. I'm not sure why I put this in here, but there was that. Maybe I copied the wrong comment. I don't know. And then there's this one. The person says, "Hi, Paul. The only thing missing when Trump was lying on the stage after the shots fired was Obama walking on the podium and asking if there was a doctor in the crowd. Is there a doctor here? Is there a doctor? Someone fainted. Give him some water." That's a reference to the earlier part of the video, which was, good. It's a callback to something else I showed. Then this person writes, "Unfollowed, get well soon." Like, you can't even articulate, not that I want you to articulate. Like, you don't need to say anything. Like, just, I don't care. And I know you're going to be upset, you Trumpers, right? So I don't want you to articulate, but then saying something like that's even worse, right? Because you don't even have a reason. The other person called me smug and entitled, or smug and jealous, but envious. But, that sucks. Like, not that, it hurts my feelings or something, but it sucks that you're like that, right? And then to say I'm unfollowing you, well, who cares? Like, just do it. Like, I don't expect everyone's going to dig what I do here. And so I'm well aware people don't like it. I know what you guys think, right? Another person says, "You guys are half-wits." All of us who think that Trump is a WWE actor, right? Which I documented in this video. But this person, "You're so lazy, Paul. Crisis actors? Really? You seem burned out, buddy. Like you're about to nod off between sentences. Blah, 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 blah. Everyone is a crisis actor. The Heartfulness are a cult, except when I'm in it. LOL. Go lay down, you hack." That's self-explanatory, right? So one of the things I wanted to say, I did take a long break. I've been doing work outside. But, these events that have happened now over and over again, they don't stick, especially the fake ones. The fake ones don't stick. But, none of the events stick because there's always something new. They're always shocking you. This is a time where the things that they stage, but as well as things that are happening organically, is that, time is like rushing past us and there's just one event after another, right? Boom, 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 boom. And so, like the event that happened with Biden's disastrous debate performance was considered the worst debate performance in history of debates, right? I mean, Fetterman, of course, that was probably worse, but he just came off an operation. And then all this information came out about him having Parkinson's, and then he just displayed in these interviews and one thing after another, all this stuff. And that wasn't even settled yet. Like, that was still in flux. We that story arc hadn't been completed. And now we have the, Tim being shot in the ear, and he's announced this new vice president, all these things, right? Convention. And in 3 months, people won't even remember this. Things like this just don't stick, right? I mean, they're going to try to be pushing it for a long time, but, who knows what's going to happen between now and then. And you'll notice that these events, like the ones that are fake, people gravitate to them. They kind of go along, they play along with them, but they never get into them like something that happens. I mean, the big event that happened in 2001, sure, that one really stung people, and, wars were started, but these other things just don't get traction. The seed of doubt has been planted in the truth community over and over again. And people now are cynical and they don't believe the official story, and they don't believe it, it doesn't have the same emotional effect as it used to. Because people are like, yeah, well, maybe it's true, maybe. I mean, everyone has some doubt. And these Trumpers definitely have doubt. That's why they get so upset, right? Because deep down they know their guy's a fake, but they just can't handle that reality. But everybody has doubt about this thing. I mean, everybody has at least something that's like, this seems like bullshit, right? It doesn't seem accurate. It doesn't seem real. And so there's a question. I didn't copy the exact question, but the person was responding to me saying that, if there's massive population reduction and there it goes from 7, almost 8 billion people to 1 billion people, where are those souls going to go? If reincarnation is a mandatory type situation where you're trapped on planet Earth and you're not free to go somewhere else, and yet there isn't enough available spots. And so do people go back to the animal kingdom? They incarnate some kind of animal, but there might be, massive animal the population as well. And so, it's an interesting question. I don't have the answer. I've talked about this before. You go into some hellish, limbo waiting for, because what we're talking about here is coming back to a planet that is almost uninhabitable and miserable to be on. And that's the prize for good souls, ones that are going to help, bring back a redemptive movement. So if that's the prize, then what's the booby prize? Like, what's the, what's the negative thing if you don't? If the positive thing is you get to come back to Earth and, redeem yourself and fix the, whatever was happening here with humanity, and then the negative souls, they're not allowed back. So what happens to them? There's these Whispers of the Brighter World messages, which I read from time to time. And this one came out just a while back, and it was published in the Whisper a Day. These messages come out on a daily basis in an email format. Wednesday, August 4th, 1999, 8 a.m. The religions that deny reincarnation are in contradiction with their customs, which involve performing rituals of purification on the child right before birth, like baptism or something like that. Why should the child be purified if she was a spontaneous divine creation and already in a pure state? What more is there to add? This idea that you're born a sinner, how can you be born a sinner if you haven't sinned, right? Like, what makes you a sinner? Like, are animals all sinners? And so you had to be something before. You've had to commit sin to be born into sin, right? And so this is, part of the darkness of the Christian religion. The adult, on the other hand, must undertake an inner cleaning, which is what an Abhyasi must do. This work is essential to let the divine light energy penetrate. The transmission, as we call it, is all the more effective if the recipient is in the best condition for receptivity. It's one of the few paths where such emphasis is to put on this preparation. To meditate on one's own tendencies is not good. It only serves to reinforce them. The Abhyasi can only be better received if they prepare themselves assiduously by doing their cleaning each evening and by being regularly monitored by the preceptor of their choice. They then will be in the best condition to receive this true blessing, that is the Pranahuti. Our way is simple. Perhaps we need to remind you more often how regularly rigor in the practice and essential of your advancement are essential for your advancement. Missing no seminars, no group meditations, that's good, but above all, don't neglect the personal preparatory work, which may seem demanding, but is indispensable foundation for obtaining the best results. Think about it. Don't let up. Get yourselves back on track if necessary. Start out again on the right foot. The road is long. It is the best to well equipped and take full advantage of the richness of this way, Babaji. And so what this is referring to is that we do a half-hour cleaning every night, those of us who do this practice, like having your will force push all the day's impressions off your back in the form of smoke and vapors, not to allow these impressions to cloud your ability to feel God's presence and receive the divine transmission that's given in this meditative practice, right? But I've said this before, if you have a soul, like if, you believe you have a soul, which came from the idea of the Atman was originated in ancient India, like 180,000 years ago, when people, the modern day people first realized that they had a spiritual essence. Animals aren't conscious of a soul, right? But if you have a soul that's, alive in some capacity, right? Not a physical life, but alive and conscious, you have an essence, then when you die, that soul exists somewhere else, right? And so if you understand that your soul wasn't created in the act of conception, right? When you were created in terms of a physical body, your soul didn't exist in that moment. It wasn't created by the conception, right? The physical conception. And so that's where people don't think their way through this, and religions are, deceptive about this because they know, the truth is there, but it doesn't suit the other narratives that they've created, right? So your soul existed before you were incarnated. So where was it before? If you're in a life now, a physical life, where was your soul before you were created, before your physical body was created, right? The moment of conception. Your soul existed. And so what was it doing before? Was it here on planet Earth? Was it somewhere else? Like, where was it? And so this is like some of the mysteries, things that we can't know for sure, right? You have to take, sort of a leap of faith, and, it's something you can't know with your physical mind because, it doesn't happen in the physical environment, right? You know, people don't fully believe in a soul because, you know, we only believe in the soul as much as we're scared of death or not, or believing in some sort of afterlife or something like that. You know, believing that when we cease to exist, then that's it. There's some, you know, doubt for everybody. You can have experiences of like the afterlife or the spiritual side. And that's one of the good things about meditating and connecting with the divinity within, because it makes the transition that much easier. And it helps to lighten the importance of your physical life, right? And people like Trump who said you know, God saves their life. Well, maybe there's sometimes some divine intervention. You know, there's things that I've done that are stupid, or things that, you know, like I said, there was about 2 years ago where my wife and I were headed to, there's a park we used to go to. I've built a path in our pasture. You know, we have a farm and we go walking around there, but there's a park about 2 or 3 miles away from my house. Takes about 7-8 minutes. Very simple drive, country kind of farming area. And my wife and I were driving to the park, and a car, there's a like a road with a hill on it, and they have a stop sign at the bottom of the hill. A road that I've never seen a car coming down, you know, one of these sort of like a light traffic road. But it comes down a steep hill, and there must have been some kids like joyriding, maybe in high school, not really fully, you know, appreciating the dangers of a car, and they were coming down that hill, flying down that hill. We didn't see them till the last minute, and they pulled out right behind us, or right in front of us. And if we were a second earlier, I would have been dead. Like, it was, you know, one of those things that makes you appreciate that there are things that can take you out at any moment, right? These kids ran the stop sign. They had no idea. They're flying down this hill, and their street ended. So I turned around, and they were like, you know, up on 2 wheels trying to make a left turn. And there's a car behind us. Like, they just avoided, you know, they would have killed somebody if they had, you know, if timing had been different, right? And it was, you know, just irresponsible driving. They were going way too fast, didn't notice the stop sign. And that's all it takes, right? Things like that happen all the time. You know, but Trump is attributing God saving him, which is, you know, furthering indoctrinating this is like cult-like behavior. You know, to fake an event, do something for publicity, fake a miracle, you know, fake one of these things, and then attribute to God, you know, the way he did, and just all of it, right? Like, it's just really bad. And there's nothing you can say to these people because they just won't go there. Like, they just, you know, Trump is their savior and they need something, and Trump is it right now. No matter what he does and who he is, you know, they're going to self-deceive, and, you know, it's just the way it is. Only spirituality will save this M&F world. It's Paul Romano, definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.